Alex's pec fibers, if you can imagine my fingers, that's the approximate direction that his fibers run. Okay, so if you get strip away his fat, strip away his skin, the muscle fibers underneath there basically look like that. Does that make sense? So when Alex is trying to work his chest, when he's trying to work, elbow up. So now as his arm comes up, they kind of go like that. Okay, so now if Alex wants to work these fibers, the arm path has to perfectly match the direction of these fibers. So whatever fibers he's trying to recruit, he has to perfectly match the direction of that fiber. So if I'm trying to work these fibers, I'll kind of come here. I'm trying, well, these fibers are more like this. I'll be with my finger up as he go in that direction. So if I'm trying to work these fibers, I got to kind of make my arm angle match that. See that? Okay, lay on your back. So, slide over, Mark. So let's take my arm, just slide over. So, sternal angle, what's called sternal angle, is really, really important. You guys probably can't see it behind his massive pecs. Leave it, sit it, you're good. So his sternal angle, for those of you near the front, can tell that that's almost horizontal. Everybody see that? Like his sternum is basically flat, basically the same angle as the bench, which is also going to determine that his pec angle, the angle of his lower pec, is basically horizontal. So when he's trying to work his pec, the only fibers that are going to be worked if he's doing a bench press, these fibers down here aren't doing anything at all. The only fibers that are going to start to work are the ones that are just kind of maybe in this 2-inch range. Okay, so he's going to get a very limited amount of pec fiber recruitment. He's going to miss all this down here, because for this to work, it's pulling, these fibers are kind of pulling over here in this direction. So the upper pec fibers, they're kind of pulling over there in that direction. So the only ones that are able to pull are the ones going across the middle. Does everybody understand that? Stand up for a second. Show mine. Stand it up. Mark's going to show you the difference between Alex's sternal angle and my sternal angle.
Ready?
See a difference? It's like, that's me flat, that's not me arching it like that. If I arch, I can bring it to where it's basically almost vertical.
So do you think that actually is almost, that's a decline press for Ben?
Well,
it's near enough.
Not quite a decline, but see how the pec fibers are going to be recruited to be very different. So now these fibers are basically vertical, and they're going to be doing most of the work when I'm pressing in this plane. Whereas Alex was kind of like these little ones up here are going to be doing most of the work. You see that? Okay. Yeah. So how do we make Alex preferences? So he's got this like itty bitty section of his chest right here that's going to be working. Whereas when I'm doing it, like all of this along here is going to be doing it, and probably a lot of my upper pec too. So how do we make Alex work his chest more? First step one is how can we get this lower pec angle closer to vertical? Why do we want a vertical? Because a dumbbell or a barbell is providing force in a vertical plane, so we want to oppose that. So the more, let's try arching up. So that made a big difference. I mean, that took him to a pretty good amount. And now what does this go decline? Yeah, a little bit. Perfect. Now arch. Good. So he's still not quite where I am. Arch more. Yeah, that's good. Good, so he's still not quite where I am, but you can see how that's a little bit closer to vertical. So that's going to be a lot better pec exercise for Alex than a flat bench press ever will. Next consideration is, how far can I get my shoulders back behind me? So if you guys have been by the Watson equipment booth up there, I made something they called the Pakulski bench, because all it was a slightly more narrow bench, which allowed you to retract your shoulders more. So if Alex retracts his shoulders, you guys are going to see his pec line now changes even further. So now his pec line, look at that. Ooh, that's almost like actually using a pec there, right? That's actually kind of cool. So now when he's doing a bench press, he's actually got a pretty good ability for his chest to do some work, because that's almost vertical. And the next consideration is, what's on top is going to do work. So a lot of you are going to be very flat chested, like Alex is now. Relax this for a second. Good, just relax. So what you can see now, see how it's kind of like a more even playing field where his chest and his shoulders are almost at the same line? So that means his chest is probably going to do, well, his chest is still elevated a little bit, so it's going to do a greater percentage of the work. But if you were to roll his shoulders forward, protract them, good. Now, see that's almost an even playing field? So now his chest doesn't have any mechanical advantage at all. The chest and shoulders are going to be doing about the same amount of work in a bench press. So whatever's on top of that exercise is going to do the greatest amount of work. So we really want to preference the chest, pull it back, and really put that chest on top. It gives it a better pec angle. It also puts that muscle on top, which gives it a greater mechanical advantage to work. Okay, so that's a really good starting position for Alex. If he could get his shoulders back even a little bit further, he'd be even better, but hey, that's okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure this is tight. It doesn't necessarily mean flattening it out, it just means making sure it's not moving, because we want to eliminate extraneous movement. Because for anyone who follows my stuff online, what's the number one most important rule? Initiate with the working muscle. So the muscle you're trying to work has to start the movement. So Alex is going to come back into the fully lengthened position. He's going to push into my hand, but not move, so contract your pecs, and now contract through that. Push through it, good, push through it, push through it, push through it. Good, all the while making sure your shoulders stay back, because as soon as he does this, pecs don't do anything anymore. Pecs don't work, because now they're no longer able to pull, now they want to pull this way. So if I'm doing a bench press, I got to keep my shoulders back. Okay, so that was a long-winded explanation for Alex on how to build his chest.